Okay, everybody's hot. And I'll count you in when we get to 5. We'll do a second intro.
Yeah.
And 3, 2, 1.
Turn it off. Welcome to the Loud Lounge with yours truly, Selector Free. And today it's going to be like a show, I don't know how to call it. Today I have two iconic heads of the reggae industry beside me. I normally introduce them, but you know the faces. So let's say this is David Radigan and my African counterpart from South Sudan, Dynamq himself, live in Bermuda. So guys, welcome to the Loud Lounge.
Thank you very much. Great to be back in Bermuda, and thank you for inviting me on the Loud Lounge.
Yes.
Live.
So, let's not get into much long talking.
Oh, I'll go home now then.
Yeah. So, we're basically going to talk about, from both of your perspectives, what drew you to reggae and what connected you with this business.
Oh, thank you for having me. Such an honor to be next to a legend, living legend, David Radigan, who has played a very, very important role in making me listen to reggae from a different point of view. You know, in the refugee camps, I used to listen to David Radigan. You know, and I used music as a getaway from all the pain I went through. You know, Desmond Decker. You know. The Maytons, you know, Mighty Diamonds, you know, Culture, all those musicians, Burning Spear, you know, we grew up listening to those, the Wailing Souls, and you know, while you're living through pain, you kind of listen to songs that's trying to uplift you. So I listened to those songs a lot, and then, you know, listening to his voice on the radio, just hearing him not trying to be Jamaican, just speaking straight English, because I thought like you have to be yadi yadi yadi. Yes. You know, that also kind of shaped myself into being myself, you know, and once I grew up and came out of it, it was just a matter of time, and thank God things, you know, fell into places. You know, I had a lot of people like Irish and Chin who gave me an opportunity, and I will never ever stop, you know, bigging them up, you know, and you know, it's like reggae is a healing for me. It's definitely a healing, and you know, once it hits, you feel no pain. Yeah.
No, I'm nodding in approval, and I'm deeply touched by your words. Thank you very much. As a radio broadcaster over the years, you sit in the studio with a mic, red light goes on, you speak. You sometimes wonder if anyone is listening. We realized back in the 80s on Capital Radio that people were listening because we started receiving letters from South Africa, from Ghana, from Zimbabwe, from all over Africa, on blue handwritten, the what was called airmail letters,
right,
saying how much they enjoyed the show and how much they enjoyed reggae music, and also on British Forces Network Radio from Germany. The British Forces were based there. A lot of listeners and a lot of people wrote in, and I remember receiving one particular letter from Soweto. Wow. Regarding a song I played by Bonnie Whaler, Mosquito, President Botha, you're Mosquito, and this man said we're in the depths of underprivilege here, we're trying suffering, but the music gives us hope, just as you said, Dynamq. The music gives us hope, and I'll never forget receiving that letter from this young man in Soweto. So what does that tell you about reggae music? It is a healing music, it is an inspiring music. I, as a non-Jamaican, discovered it as a teenager in a small village in Oxfordshire, listening to pirate radio and hearing this music being played as ska and then rocksteady. By 67, I was hooked. I was obsessed with the music, and the more I investigated it, the more I discovered, the more I learned. Then I found these groups, these vocal harmony groups, some of which Dynamq just named, and they blew me away as well. They literally blew me away, and I am still enamored and in awe of this great music, in its origins, what it stood for, how it uplifted people, and how it gave people in desperate straits genuine hope.
And I can say from my perspective, as a fan of both of you, I give you guys the utmost respect because you took, as some would say, the Reggae Band Club as being a Jamaican only group, and you guys revolutionized it for other people. You was the beginning, this is the future, and I'm the future after you because I'm representing Bermuda on that scale. Hopefully, promoters, you know where to contact me. And what I want to talk to you guys about is that you guys have both different backgrounds. And what I've just realized from hearing you guys talk, the music has hit you both the same as well as me. Like I can tell you, my favorite song is Friends for Life from Dennis Brown.
Wow.
That is one of my favorite songs. And for a guy, I'm not gonna say my age, a lot of people say, well, why is that? That was the song that made me fall in love with reggae. I mean, and I wanna talk to you guys, you're both touring DJs as well as well accomplished class selectors. So first we'll talk on a base of your touring DJs, your juggling, and then we'll get a little bit more into your class selection. So Dynamq,
Yes, sir.
being a juggling selector, you've also talked about how you've heard Radigan show, and that was some of the inspiration to what we now see. Who else were the other selectors that you can say you took note from? We can all say we looked up to somebody in the business. We can say I took this from him, learned this from him, but we all create our own style.
Right.
Who were some of the other selectors that you looked at?
Well, you know, growing up in Africa, we used to get tapes from Jah Shaka,
Right.
you know, and straight instrumentals. And I would sit there and wait for the vocals to come in. What is this? And I was still learning, you know. I didn't know what it was called, the dub, with the echo and all that stuff. I was still growing up learning it. And then, you know, growing up from Sudan then, which is South Sudan now, due to the war, my family migrated to Kenya.
Yes.
And we lived in Kenya as undocumented immigrants. So of course you have to live undercover, and we listened to three sounds. There was Shashamane sound, Jumbo sounds, and King Lion sounds, you know?
Yes.
And then it was one of those, we'll have to go to like a radio station outside and listen to them because we can't even afford a radio. And whoever has a radio, the battery will die, and you have to put it on top of the house to get some heat, and sometimes you have to squeeze onto the battery and get a little juice on it. And then my favorite part of growing up is when you press play and rewind at the same time to get that sound. And then when it stops, that's when you know you gotta let it go and play again. So it's those things I loved about it. And then, you know, now, you know, coming to America now, you see a whole different Caribbean community, and then you see this Japanese, the Mighty Crown,
Yes.
and you see Radigan. One of my favorite speech, I don't think Radigan will remember, he made a speech about going to Jamaica and the mosquitoes had him for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And he dropped, I think it was a Barrington Levy, and you look at the reaction, and to me, I'm like, I really want to do this, but I don't know how, you know? I used to take a Greyhound bus to World Clash, and I told Chin that, you know, and I couldn't afford anything. I'll have a bottle of water the whole night. And the Greyhound bus leaving New York was 6 o'clock in the morning. I have to find my way to the bus station, and to see me going to whereby I'm one of those guys in World Clash, it's just reggae made me believe in myself, you know.
Gave you
know,
the confidence.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. Like, you know, my favorite song is Desmond Dekker, Israelite, but the bass voice on the song, the Israelite, you know, I'm still learning today, you know. But you know, it's like I will need like a whole year to explain to you what reggae has really done for me. It has saved my life. You know, it has changed me to be a better person. You know, I've just went to Jamaica for the first time a couple of years ago.
And how was that experience
Man,
for you?
You hear about sound system, but you don't hear about, when you get to witness it, you see the truck, the guy driving the truck.
Whole circumference of
yeah, the guy,
all aspects.
The guy told me he has been driving Bass Odyssey truck since 1987. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? And then this guy has been stringing up Bass Odyssey since those days, and I would sit down with those guys because to me, those guys are the engine of the sound. We always get to see the selectors. When I sat down with those guys and I ate with them, and I would ask them, how was Quingy like? How was Lenny like? And they would tell me from their experience, because to me, those people don't get interviewed, but they also have something to bring on the table because they were there firsthand, you know? And I'll sit down and ask them about, so how did you voice this? How did you come up with this? And they also, to me, everybody who's around a sound system is kind of a selector of in their own right. Because, you know, and I will ask them, what is your favorite songs? And one morning, I heard bang, bang, bang. I woke up, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. It was Father Keith, the owner of Bass Odyssey, stringing up, fixing up speakers out there. To me, I'm coming from, if you're a boss, you don't do nothing. You just sit there, you collect the money and have everybody working.
But
that changed everything for me. And I'm looking outside, I'm looking at the Bass Odyssey trucks, I went to, like, everywhere in Jamaica there's music playing, you know, and it just shows you the power of not only reggae, but music. You know, music unites people, man. For people to pay to come and see us play music, to me, I don't take that for granted, you know. And I hope I don't get too much into it because I get a little emotional. I lost my father and I lost my brother, and I really wish they get to see me
now
playing in Bermuda, playing in Jamaica, you know. But, you know, I know they're my guiding angels. Yeah.
Follow that? I can't follow that. It's a very moving speech. Very, very moving speech. And all that you said is so true, and particularly in reference to the sound system, truck drivers, box loaders, technicians, and hands-on dudes. Because those guys are there before the crowd come in, those guys are still there when the crowd has gone home and they're in their beds. They're driving those big heavy-duty trucks back to Kingston in the middle of the night with sound boys, speaker box boys asleep in the back of the truck.
Wow.
And they are very kind and helpful people. They're also devoted to their work, and without them, those sound systems would not exist. They wouldn't survive. Those guys are the backbone of the Jamaican sound system industry. And big up all the drivers, the engineers. As you say, everyone in the sound is a kind of selector.
Yeah.
And I always remember many years ago, and I'm not going to name the sound because I don't want to get the engineer in trouble, but one of the engineers of a particular sound in Jamaica, a very big sound that I was billed to play with deep in the countryside, said to me as he was unloading the truck with other people, he whispered like this, "They're going to clash you tonight, be prepared," and carried on. And I stood there thinking, I've seen the flyer, it doesn't say clash. And that's all he said to me. And later I looked at him and he went, in other words, clink, clink. It's true. And you know what? It was true. Because after we'd done the juggling, suddenly,
clash.
Are you ready for clash, Radigan? And I didn't have a clash box with me.
Wow.
Because I didn't come to clash. Because in those days I had acetates only and vinyl. I had a blue box which had vinyl and some dubs, and then I had my little red box, Ask Richie B on JB Radio, Ask Richie B, the famous Jamaican radio DJ. He said, "What's in that little red case?" I said, that is the atomic option. In there. Because those are all the killing dubs. I didn't bring the little red box because it didn't say clash. So I had to clash them with what was inside the front of the blue box.
Wow.
But I still gave them some serious damage.
Nice.
No names, no pack drill, as they say in the army. Big up JDF, Jamaica Defence Force. All soldiers, all bad man. And all tough guys. Yeah, anyway, so that was, in reference to what you were saying, and I think that's so important about, what was the original question?
You know what? I'm sitting here blown away. I was asking what got you intrigued with reggae music.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
How do you feel about reggae music?
Yeah, and juggling and
Yes,
touring. So
yes.
there are two types of performances essentially, and at all times, and Dynamq just hit the nail on the head. You have to remember when you are standing on stage or in a club, whether it's 10,000 or 100, the people have paid their hard-earned money to come out to be entertained. They're not interested in moody DJs who are sulking and being sour-faced.
Right.
They want to be entertained. You are duty-bound from the moment you hit that stage to entertain the people.
And I appreciate you saying that.
But it's true.
And I want people to watch that and understand.
But it's so true.
Because many times we can say people don't understand, DJs don't understand their job.
You're there to entertain people. That
Yeah.
means get out there, and if you don't need a pound of flesh on stage, you haven't done your job.
Right.
You need
Right.
to work.
Yeah.
That's what you go there to do. So I would say, in answer to your question about touring and juggling and clashing, are two different worlds.
Right.
Yes.
When you're on stage and it is not a clash, you are duty bound to entertain people. That means you need to play the songs that the people want to hear. You need to read the crowd.
Yes.
And in reading the crowd, the guarantee you will find what I refer to as Mr. Miserable. Mr. Miserable will somewhere in the audience, and maybe more than one of them, maybe two or three of them. They may even be haters, even better.
Yeah.
Because from you spot those guys, don't let them bring you down. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to get those guys to go like this and give you a lean,
forward.
mean forward.
Lean, mean
because
forward.
they have to, because they know they have to.
Yeah.
So those guys are sometimes a good focus point, but essentially look at the audience, play to the crowd, don't play to yourself, play what they want to hear. And remember this, I once did a dance in New York, and I came off stage and a guy walked up to me outside the club. I want a word with you, Radigan. I said, yeah, what's that? He said, you didn't play Dub Plates Playing in the Ghetto tonight by Johnny
wow.
Osborne. I said, I play it all the time. Yeah, you play it all the time, he said, but I'm not in all the dances.
Wow.
I paid money to come here to New York to listen to you playing dubs, and you didn't play Johnny Osborne, one of your biggest dubs that everyone knows is your biggest dub. How come you didn't play it? You need to make sure you always play that dub. And he walked off. And I stood there thinking in Brooklyn, you know, he's got a point.
Yes.
That sometimes as selectors, when we're fed up of playing it, thinking, oh, I can't play this again.
Yeah.
The 100 or 200 or 2,000 or 20,000 people in the audience are probably waiting to hear it because they haven't heard it, because A, they've never seen you before, or B, the last time they saw you was 6 years ago.
Right.
So remember, it's not a question of repeating the same songs. You've got to be creative and inventive, of course.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you must remember there will always be a hardcore selection of songs that people will want to hear.
Your Radigan anthems, your dynamic anthems.
Start spreading the news. If you go to listen to Frank Sinatra, which I did do once
Right.
in a concert in London, if he didn't sing New York, New York,
Yeah.
hello, what's going on?
Yeah.
He would have to do that. So entertain the audience, make sure you play for them, and you can lean back on your anthems, of course, and you can sprinkle some dub plates in there, but sometimes, remember this, the 45 is better than the dub plate.
Definitely.
If the dub plate isn't better than the 45, chuck it in the bin.
Yeah.
Don't play it, it's a waste of time.
That's true. I totally
Remember
agree.
the difference between a wicked dub and a wicked 45. There is a difference. If the dub's wicked, play it. If it's not, park it. And then clashing, that's a different game again.
Okay.
Because you go into a clash and you have to have a game plan, you have to plan A, plan B, you have to know where you're going, you have to lean into it. And even when you're getting battered and you're on the ropes and someone's put lead in the boxing gloves and you're getting whacked and you're thinking, why is this so hard? Because somebody's put lead in the boxing gloves. You just have to take it and bounce back, because remember, if you can get to the 1 for 1, in my case, because I'm no good at juggling, I couldn't mix a cake. But if I can get to the 1 for
Yeah.
1,
I know I have
got
a chance.
I got some big dubs just
Okay. Now,
waiting.
it's nice that you guys said that, right? But let's talk about you guys, your touring DJs. How do you do your research for when you tour to different countries? A song that may hit in London or in certain part Kenya or say South Sudan
Right.
may not hit in Bermuda.
So you
But
just
a
have
song that hits in Bermuda may not hit there.
failure to prepare is to prepare for failure.
Wow.
So you have to do your homework. You phone your selectors and your friends in Miami and say, what are the big 5 tunes?
Yeah.
Because a song can be massive in Miami and dead in New York. It can be hot in LA and no one knows it in Atlanta. You just got to do the groundwork. Make sure you do the groundwork, play the hits and get off. Don't overstay your welcome. Just know to do your homework. That's all you have to do.
Now, on doing your homework, since you guys are touring DJs, do you sometimes like to say, I'm playing in Bermuda on a Saturday. Let me get there on the Thursday night, so that leaves me a Friday night to take a local party in to have a better understanding. Because sometimes, let's be honest, the people that are doing your homework with you may tell you something, but actually being in the presence of it, you can have a different appeal on what shall be played.
But also sometimes you can walk into a crowd and they just feeling a different type of vibe from the song that you're given. That's why you have to read the crowd and size the crowd. And then also this is something special about a good speech that everybody can relate to. You can make a speech and literally play anything and the crowd goes crazy. And with that also comes back to you just being who you are. People relate to people who are themselves and just speak their mind straight up. You know, I'm a poor guy, I'm a rich guy, just be yourself and present yourself. And people, it's something about just being real. Anybody can relate to that.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's about being real. I mean, I haven't got dreads. I don't dress in a way that suggests I'm a Jamaican. I am myself. I am my own man. I'm my own person. I'm true to myself. I'm true to the music. I do what I do because I enjoy doing it. And the phone keeps ringing, and promoters book me to come and do it. So I must be doing something right. And the most important thing of all is I'm having fun.
Definitely.
I'm having fun.
So much fun.
And you know what? Life is too short, and none of us have got much. I mean, I certainly probably haven't got a lot of runway left at my age, but I don't care because I'm still having fun.
Most definitely.
And I also, let's get into, since you're touring selectors, what has been your memorable moment to date playing? Where, when, and we're gonna go a little deep, what did you play?
So man, it's a couple of them, but the one that stands out is the first time I went to Jamaica, right? And before I played, it started raining, and it was myself, Panta, I think a sound called some other sound, and it started raining, and to me, people started walking away. I was like, oh man, what is happening? It's my first time. What am I gonna tell my friends back home, you know? So, good thing the rain just stopped. It seemed like everybody left, but they really just went to the side. So, I played Miriam Makeba folk song. No, the click song. Miriam Makeba, the click song. The reason I did that is because I wanted people to look at the stage and say, what's going on over there while they're coming back. And the click song, when you know the South Africans speaking, the click, they click, click, click. Miriam Makeba was just singing, and right after that, I said, the rain is a blessing, and I came all the way from Africa, and I'm gonna play a song. If any one of these selectors feel some type of way, they're free to defend it. And I played the Beanie Man, and if then let me try, and the place just went crazy, while some Jamaicans are looking at me like, this African has some nerve. And this is my first time. I was really nervous, I was also using one turntable because for some reason the sound was turned off and turning it back on, and I was just running back and forth, and it just worked my way in, worked perfectly. And after that, we went to tune for tune, and I played some song that a lot of people never expected me to play, and that is the beauty of having the element of surprise, because somebody made a speech about a Gregory Isaacs and they played Night Nurse, and I put in the deepest African accent you can think about, you know, and if you play Gregory Isaac as an African, and I dropped Gregory Isaac, and Bounty Killer was in the crowd.
Which did you?
Love Overdue.
Okay.
And Bounty Killer was in the crowd, and when I'm done playing, Banky, who's like Bounty Killer's management, comes up to me. I don't know who this guy is. He said, "Hey, the man want to see you." First time in Jamaica, I'm thinking I broke, you know, the law or something,
Some rules,
you know.
or something.
So I walk up to Bounty Killer, and there's a lot of broken glasses.
Yeah.
And he's telling me, "Are you make we do this, you know?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" So the whole time I'm playing, they're breaking bottles, like giving me forward, like throwing it down. And then he says, "Yeah, deal with them like a River Nile crocodile." And that's how the whole River Nile crocodile came about. And at this moment, I'm speaking to Bounty Killer. I don't
in awe.
Like what, you know, I'm by myself and I'm looking around like, oh, first of all, I need to find somebody to take me to the airport because my flight is, you know, but I want to see what Bounty Killer. And so it was just, everything happened so fast. But when I left, I went to the airport. The whole time I was just sitting like this. What is my next move? You know, what's going on? What's going to happen now? You know, I think I started something that I have to live up to a certain expectation. But, you know, and thank God for the great people I have in life. My big brother, you know, he always told me, like, listen, man, if you try and you fail, you just got to go back and try again, man. It's not the end of the world, you know. As Barry Someone has a song called "It's Not Over Until It's Done." And there's a line there says, as long as you wake up in the morning, you always have a chance. And that's how I live by, what I live by.
Okay.
That's life, that's what the people say. Riding high in April, shut down in May. James Brown version is the best version. And you pick yourself up and dust yourself down and start all over again. For me, well, it's a difficult question. There are many possible answers I could give because there have been one or two special moments over the past 45 years, gosh.
Wow.
But I guess probably 1999, Hartford, Connecticut was a truly magnificent moment because I didn't see it coming. I didn't even know the train had left the station. 1 for 1, Mighty Crown and me. They just won World Clash.
Ooh.
They were the new world champions. They were, and they are, a phenomenon. And when I was invited to clash with them, everyone in England said, no, you're crazy. You can't clash with those guys. They will chop you up into little pieces because they've got dubs on top of dubs, like music like dirt for days and extra days, as they used to say in Jamaica. And I thought, do you know what? I love a challenge. So I said, I'm going to do it. So I got 2 versions of Sukiyaki. It's all because of you. The Suki, a Japanese pop song.
Yeah.
And I found a Japanese lady who worked in a bank in the city of London.
Wow.
And I rewrote the lyrics and I got her to go to Maffei and Flux's studio and she voiced Sukiyaki killing Mighty Crown in the dance in Japanese.
Yo.
On a dancehall version of Sukiyaki.
Yeah.
And Mighty Crown just looked at me, they couldn't believe it. The audience were befuddled and because it was all in Japanese. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, that was obviously for Mighty Crown, they understood every word. Allow me to play the English version.
Ooh.
And I played it then in English, customized to kill Mighty Crown that night. That probably was a very special night in terms of the effect that had. And it certainly made Simon and Sammy chuckle, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But then, not long after that, when they were playing, it was 1 for 1, I got from a guy in the wings. And I realized it was Beast, the bodyguard of Wycliffe.
Ooh.
So I ran off to the side of the stage, and behind the door in the dressing room, there was Wycliffe in a fur coat.
Oh, God.
I said, what are you doing here? He said, what am I doing? He said, do you know what the #1 tune is in America? I said, I don't know. I only flew in yesterday. It's called Maria Maria by Carlos Santana and GMB The Product. To me, he said, here's the dub to Kill Mighty Crown, play the second cut on this side of the plate,
goodness.
handed it to me. I ran back out, and he'd driven from Brooklyn in his vehicle that night, because there was a rumour saying that Wyclef's in the dance. He'd driven from Brooklyn, having cut the dub that night, the night before, voiced it with G&B the product. I played it blind. I played second track as requested, didn't know it was number one in America, completely blind. And the forward came from the back of the hall, that massive hall, Hartford, Connecticut, at the West Indian Centre, like a tidal wave. And Mighty Crown just went, and they put their drop, you asked them, they just put their dubs down, and they looked as if to say, you know, how could we deserve this, you know? And that was a night I frankly will never forget.
Beautiful.
The other one would be playing Prince Buster, Hard Man for Dead, in a 1-for-1 in Jamaica, in Montego Bay. I was dressed in a yellow shirt, and I got like the fever came on me, and I did this crazy dance. I was almost like, and I was playing the kick him down, you lick him down, in bones, right back, Radigan's that hard man for dead. And Jamaica, you play that song in Jamaica, they just went nuts. So there's 3 anecdotes that I'll stop there.
That's crazy.
On a mercy.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about, since I have you guys here, how do you believe the state of reggae is and the state of dancehall? Because some people would say they're together, but they're 2 different entities now.
Some tumbleweeds are blowing into the studio here.
So we're going to
tumbleweeds are blowing into the studio.
We're going to do something different. Radigan has normally been putting you first. I think Radigan should start.
You want me to let off? You want me to really let off?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Yes.
Okay, I'll be forthright and honest. To be true to yourself is the only thing you can be. I would say this, that the young artists in Jamaica will always be inspiring, because from youth comes all the energy that the world needs. The future does not belong to me. The future belongs to young people and young selectors, young DJs, young artists. For the music to grow, they need to continue to make the music. So, what is happening? It's quite clear what is happening. Young people in Jamaica are making music for other young people. Because when I was young, I wasn't enjoying music that my dad enjoyed, because he's like saying, who are the Beatles? What is this noise? He wasn't getting it because he was into Glenn Miller. Generations come and generations go, the cycle of life. So I get it. Young Jamaicans are making music for young Jamaicans in Jamaica. Some of that music exports quite well, some of it doesn't. I would hasten to add that most of it doesn't export very well, because most of it is at what's referred to as dancehall trap, and it is a particular genre, some of which is in its content, I would say, questionable in terms of the origins of this great music from Jamaica, which Dynamq was talking about and I was talking about earlier on, in terms of the truth and the honesty and the inspiration of the liberty of the music, which uplifts your soul, encourages love, understanding, peace, forgiveness, and joy. The music that doesn't reflect that is music which is aggressive and has an undertone of violence, which I find disturbing, because that's not what I got into reggae music for. However, I can see that it has an excitement generated for young people, by young people, in the way that, you know, they would say, oh, well, listen, you go and see a film, a violent horror film, and people are doing the most horrible things to each other. It's only a movie. We're only making a record. Yeah, but young people listen, and young people can be inspired by things or not be inspired by things or disturbed by things. So I would say that in terms of what was being made in Jamaica in the 60s and 70s, which was ska, rocksteady and reggae, when the whole roots revival thing came back again about 10 years ago with Chronics, and in fact we're not supposed to say roots revival, we're supposed to say, you know, that it was always reggae, and reggae will always be there. Reggae is not going away. Reggae is still there, it is here to stay. I don't need to sit here and give you a list of all the people that are making good reggae in Jamaica right now, because that list is obvious. You know, from Jazz Elise to Nadine Sutherland.
A lot.
There are so many, you know, Leela Ike, Protege, Chronics, Samurai. You know, there's lots of new music that's coming through, and it's uplifting. Yeah. So the music, it's just that there's not as much of it as there once was. There is a predominance towards the dancehall trap scene, which some of which the music I find disturbing. And the essence of it is this, that it doesn't transition well internationally. I would go as far as to say that some of it doesn't get past Norman Manley Airport in terms of its export. Much of it is not available for export because it doesn't translate, it doesn't transition. So consequently, we can prove this because in Europe, there has been a demise of dancehall music. The sound systems that champion the music in Sweden, in Finland, in Jamaica, across the whole of Europe, Germany, France, Italy, all those sound systems, right? Most of them are like, because the majority of the music that's being made in Jamaica now, they're not able to play that because Afrobeats has taken over.
Yes.
Afrobeats is inspiring young people. Afrobeats is what people are going to listen to in dances. And ask all the top selectors in Europe, what happened to dance or what happened to Jamaican music? They say, well, it's not as popular as it once was. It is not as popular as it once was.
Wow.
Bounty Killer talks about this. Beanie Man talks about this. Other artists talk about this in Jamaica. And it simply isn't. And that's a given. That's not to say that it's forever, because nothing is forever, and it will come around. But at the moment, what has happened is that the international stars, the Gregorys, the Dennis, Culture, all the legends that would be the headline acts in festivals all over the world, there aren't as many of them. In fact, there are very few of them left. Obviously, we can name the obvious people, Burning Spear and so on and so forth. Bob Andy's gone. So many people have gone. Gregory's gone. These are people that sold hundreds of thousands of records, millions of records worldwide, that made amazing albums. And we are desperately in need of artists from Jamaica who are going to fill those footsteps and walk in those shoes.
Okay, now I loved how you expressed that. Before I get to you,
Right.
who can we, as the group that are here, that we can say some of the artists that we see now that can do that? I will put a few names out there. I will say Romain Virgo.
Yeah, but he's not. The other day, Romain's an amazing singer.
Yes.
But he's not new. He's been around what?
Over 10
10
years.
years.
For 10 years, 15
So
years.
yeah. I mean, he's an accomplished. He's a very professional singer. He has an amazing voice. He can also write good songs.
Yeah.
You know, Driver, the current song is really good. So
Yes.
he's not new.
Yes.
But I don't say that as a diss.
Right,
Yeah.
you're
He's
right.
there.
Yeah.
He's there.
He's been there.
Yeah. Because I wanted to throw out some names
Go on,
who
then.
will be the next
Okay.
to take the torch
Okay.
going forward.
All
So I would say, from my perspective, I would put a Romain Virgo there.
Yes.
I would put a Christopher Martin. I would put a Taurus Riley. Out of the women, we can say, I would say in a lane, Layla Ike. You guys give me some artists. These are just from my personal
I'll say
perspective.
I like Mortimer. Mortimer
Yes.
is he's got a unique style. I like like it's for something like that. I think we don't. There's always good music out there.
Yes.
What happens is to me personally, and I could be wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the good music are now turning into be the so-called early warm songs.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Like-
I'm gonna shake your hand because you put the nail right
because,
on it.
Even with that, like it is when I go to a dance nowadays, and I have to like supposedly learn 20 different dances. Do that. By the time I'm doing the third one, I'm like, okay, it's like, give me my Robodub, give me. And now,
you.
and the truth and the matter is, most of the selectors don't appreciate Robodub music anymore.
Yeah.
They look at it like, yo, we don't want to hear that old music.
Yes.
But
So-
old is gold.
What I can say, and I truly appreciate what you're understanding, what you're talking about, because I understand you both to the full max. The generation now of selectors are not given the proper respect to the things that were passed on to them. We have, I can say from my experience in Bermuda, we have local selectors where I tell them, your 15 minutes of fame is all you're showing. A lot of guys nowadays, selectors, can't do early warm. They can only do a 12:30 to Dingsboro. I'm saying, no, understand your craft. understand this music. It's a lot more than the beautiful girl that's hollering for your number.
I think that also comes with, if you travel, you get to learn a lot. You get to see different places and see how different, I went to a place called Montserrat, and to get there, you have to take a 15-minute flight from Antigua.
Yes.
Probably one of the most horrible flights you could ever take. But when you get there,
a little Liat, a little hopper jet.
Yeah, but when you get there, the vibe is different. They had the Clash like beside the mountain somewhere. They don't have no indoor venue. Everything is outside, and the music they were playing, I was there like, what? They love this over here, because once you travel, you get to understand. There's one thing, to me, good music is good music. You can never go around good music. Yes. Good music can play in Russia, Jamaica, Trinidad, South Sudan, England, all over. Good music, and from Australia back to Jamaica. But I think what happens is, and like I say, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, most of our selectors are not leaders anymore. They come to you and literally want to pattern your style and take everything you have and run with it.
The creative part of the culture has
because
changed.
You're given this music here. All you have to do is listen to it and understand it and try to figure a way, how can I bring this in after Morgan Heritage? Or maybe it's not going to work. Let me bring it after this, because music have topics. You don't want to play a love topic, come in with a bad man thing and then go back into the love. No, it's like a stairs. You go with it. So by the time you go from the love segment and then bring it into the bad man segment, you have the crowd like,
before you finish, I'm going to applaud you. Because we needed people to hear this for so long.
Yeah, but it's like, I've always believed that there's a reason why any Studio One singer can walk in any dance and sing on the same instrumental that they voiced on back in the 60s and the 70s and still sound the same, But look at the dubplates today. If it's not auditive, some artists can't even sing on their own 45. And there's no disrespect to nobody, but we get to
Dynamq,
deal with this.
Let's cut it there, because that could be a whole nother hour of conversation. Time is limited.
Yeah.
But I want to say on behalf of myself as a humongous fan of the reggae music culture, I'm going to shake your hand, Radigan. It's a pleasure to meet you again.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to meet you again as well from Devonshire Rack. We've spoken already.
Yeah, man.
On behalf of the Loud Lounge, this was a great interview with two icons of the business, David Radigan and Dynamq.
Blessing.
Welcome to Bermuda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good.
Bermuda.
All right, Jason, pull up your phone. We're going to do the trick promo.